My name is Madison. I had a one-night stand with Cody.
You know, we were more friends. We had hung out a few times, but she was definitely hesitant about going anywhere further than friends.
How did it all happen? How did it start?
One night, she invited me over for some drinks.
Did you guys drink?
I honestly can't remember at all.
We were drinking vodka, if I remember right. We had gone to her room, and then I think I had kissed her a little bit, and we were laying on the bed.
Like the actual initiation of sex was kind of weird.
And I think that she got a little upset, and she said that she didn't want to have sex and she just wanted to hang out.
I had talked about not being sure that I wanted to continue and him really wanting to, and I don't know, I was so on the fence about it.
I understood the way she felt, and I didn't want to push anything if she didn't want to do it.
And then what happened?
A little later, I may have initiated kissing. She seemed into it. Everything was good.
And then you said, I want to have sex.
So yeah, so I definitely said that I was going to have sex. I'm like,
Okay, all right. Well, okay, this is so weird, isn't it?
That's what I was talking about earlier. There's some shit that we. Why am I hearing this?
Okay, two things. This kind of scenario is very common for a lot of people. One. And two, hearing it orally always sounds way more awkward and weird than when you're going through the motions themselves.
I said that I wanted to. I just was having a lot of nervousness. It was just kind of a weird mix of emotions all at once, and I didn't really have a good idea of how to be a good communicator when it came to like sexual desires.
That's a huge problem. What she just described right there, I think, is like one of the biggest issues. It kind of reminds me of the Aziz Ansari thing, where they were kind of getting it on, but things weren't communicated, but nothing was clearly verbal, but things were kind of like implied, right? So, and you hear it just with the way they're telling their story. Both of them remember it differently. She's like, I don't remember drinking. He's like, we definitely drank. We had some vodka. She's like, oh, we watched a movie. He's like, yeah, we just slid into bed and we started making out. So the memories and the way you remember the signals are completely
Your
different.
perspective is really different. That's a known fact. How you remember things are probably not how it happened.
No. Well, you know, eyewitness testimony for most court cases are notoriously unreliable because the way people remember things is always altered. Sometimes it's altered by what you read in the news. Yeah. Like, people's memory is so, even though it can viscerally make you feel something, when you try to think back on it, you add details. I was having this conversation with my brother. We used to live in the same house for most of our lives. And then I ended up living in Ethiopia for some time, so I had to move back to Africa. And I remember before living in Ethiopia, we lived in this tiny apartment. When I came back from Ethiopia, I ended up living in a new house. So I was telling this to my brother, right? Like, man, do you remember when before I left, we lived in that piece of shit apartment? He's like, bro, you lived in that apartment when you came back for like almost a year. And I was like, what? He's like, you don't remember this? And I was like, nigga, my memory's garbage. But he was right. That's how it did happen. But you can misremember things that you think are so clear.
My mom don't even remember I got left back. She said, you never got left back. Yes.
Left back? You repeated a year?
Yeah, I'm like, yes, I got
school.
left back. Yes, 4th grade, they put me back. No, you never did. What are we doing here? And look at my sister, and she's like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Here's what's even more fucked up. This is how two people can have an experience and remember it completely different, and none of them actually think they did anything wrong. Right? Because two people can think, this happened 5 years ago. And I think the reason why I was bringing it up, like, both people can remember things, like, sometimes when people remember things differently, they're like, yo, she's lying, or he lied about this. I'm like, or maybe you guys just remember this completely differently. Your mom wasn't lying when she said you didn't go back grade. In her head, that's reality.
No, it's just the fact that she wouldn't accept that.
But now here's something even more fucked up. What if you had repeated 3rd grade, but you remember it as 4th grade? Now both of you are convinced the other person's lying when both of you are just wrong about what happened.
I know it's 4th grade. I remember my teacher's name. Like, come on now.
I was just giving you an example, but yeah, that's the thing about memory. It's faulty.
What do you remember her body looking like?
Oh, she definitely has an amazing body.
I was really insecure.
That's me
just
with
a-
most ladies.
But that's a perception.
Yeah.
That's a perception. Even if the girl is hot, she's gonna have insecurities.
Yeah.
Even if the guy is hot, he's gonna have people are gonna have insecurities. People are gonna be viewed not how they view themselves. So
I know, but it's just funny. It's just like that experience of me looking at a girl and be like, God damn, you are gorgeous. And the girl sitting there with like her panties and her bra and she has like body languages like this.
yeah.
Did you use protection?
We used protection. I do remember that. I feel like it was something weird, like a cherry flavored condom or something like that.
I don't think that we use protection.
God damn! Whoa!
That's memory though.
Sean, yes.
That's memory. Memory can be completely different.
This is hard to watch. But keep on.
Bro, I had a sexual experience with one girl I remember one time. She was like telling me, like, remember that first time we did was really good? I was like, do you realize I was passed out and I woke up inside of you? And she's like, no, that's not how it happened. I was like, yeah, that's how it happened. I remember waking up and be like, oh, this is happening. But she doesn't remember that. And so that's what I'm telling you. People can remember these things.
So she just went on.
What do you mean?
She did her thing while you were passed out.
I remember waking up and be like, God damn, this is amazing. Moving on.
How long did it last?
It had lasted quite a while.
10 minutes.
Okay. I'm gonna
This is
I'm gonna come to his defense in two ways. One, 10 minutes can be long time for some people.
no. Listen,
10 minutes can be.
10 minutes. 10
If I
minutes-
had average everyone's
no,
life,
the thing is, I believe that 10 minutes for a guy is longer than for a girl. It's longer for 10 minutes is longer for a girl if she's on top and our knees starts to when she's doing all the work. Now it's the 10 minutes is gonna feel long, but for a guy that's doing all of that work is long. It's
you know
long.
when women do that whole like squatting thing, like that third
Yeah.
world squat,
They don't-
and they last like 30 seconds,
Yes.
and they're like, okay,
That-
support me, and I was like, bitch, why'd you even get in this?
That 10 minutes is
You
long.
spent longer getting in this position than you were in the position.
Which is like, it depends who's doing what.
I do distinctly remember this part about halfway through into the sex. I just started to have this anxiety and panic and kind of weirdness. And in the middle of sex, when I get that way mentally, I start to disassociate. And I don't know that it was all that enjoyable for either of us.
I actually don't remember a lot of when we were having sex. I remember that it was good.
Anxiety on people doesn't always show. And especially if you're not sensitive to, and you're not used to being around the other person, you may not know what anxiety looks like on them.
Yeah, anxiety looks like different for other people.
So some people here could be like, man, I can't believe he wasn't more thoughtful in that moment. And also be in that moment and not realize that the other person is going through something. I've had nervous breakdowns in front of people and they had no idea. I was having panic attacks in front of people. Like everything in my skin was crawling. Like j'avais des millions de bibites. You ever, like for me, that's how my panic attacks used to happen. I used to be in front of like at the bus stop and just feel like hundreds of bugs were under my skin. And I couldn't it's crazy. Nobody could tell around. So that's the thing that people have to realize is sometimes you may not be able to see people suffering.
What was the aftermath? So you get up in the morning.
The next morning, everything seemed fine, but she didn't want to hang out again. And I said, well, why didn't you want to hang out?
I texted him and I was mad at him for what it felt like in the moment that he had pressured me into having sex.
And I said, well, you said that earlier and then I'd understand. And then we started kissing in bed and then we had sex. And so there was never any, Cody, I don't want to do this later in the night. So I was definitely a little upset.
I just told him that he was a dick for not taking into account that I wasn't sure that I wanted to have sex and I didn't want to see him again. And so I just cut ties and I never saw him again.
Did sleeping with her ruin your guys' relationship?
Yeah.
If you could go back, would you have done things differently?
Yeah, I think I would have taken things slower and just tried to feel out the way she really felt instead of trying to rush in and have sex that night.
Cody describes leading up to you guys having sex for the first time that you guys were friends that would hang out.
That's how I saw it. What did you think it was?
I thought we were like seeing each other.
Oh man. Okay, you know what? This is probably, I think, the greatest problem facing dating today is that people don't know how to communicate what they want. That's it. Sometimes people are not sure of what they want, but the other thing is that they don't know how to communicate it. And they just assume the other person's going to understand it. And so all these misconceptions happen, and you start to read intent into the other person not understanding your perspective. It's super unfortunate. It's tough because dating operates on a lot of like nonverbals and innuendo, but there's certain things that you guys have to learn how to communicate. Intentions, ideally. And at least if things are stated, then if things don't pan out, you can read intent into that. But if you never ask those questions and you just assume and you don't get the outcome that you want, you can look at the person like, oh, you're a demon. When in reality, they were just operating on a different reality. If you say, hey, I'd like to come into your bank and I want to see what accounts you guys have, you go in, then you leave and you're like, okay, now I better be part of the investment team. You're like, what? Where did that happen? You just came in for a visit. You got to communicate these things.
Oh.
I definitely didn't see you as my friend. Like, I don't have sleepovers with my male friends.
Okay, the night of sleeping with each other, how did that happen?
She had asked me to come over. We had a few drinks, and from what I remember, we had gone into the room, and then I think that I started kissing her and she got upset. And so we left the room and went back in, and
I don't remember that.
That's when we had sex. That's kind of what I remember.
Okay.
And we used a condom, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, we didn't.
No, because you didn't want to.
That's one of the reasons
That's
why you
where
were
the arguing
upset.
came from. Mm-hmm.
Holy That's so weird. It all just hit me.
What do you remember me telling you after?
I remember you said that you weren't ready,
Yeah.
like to have sex.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't get that.
When you were initiating sex with me, there was a lot of like pullback that I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to do it, and you were definitely like into it and you were really pushing to have sex, and I was like, you know what, I really like this guy, and so I had sex with you, and I can start to like disassociate during sex, and that definitely happened when we were together. And being disassociative in that kind of action, I guess, or the environment of what was happening is such a weird kind of messed up feeling. And I think I just took all of that and associated like those negative feelings with you because I just didn't know how to process them, you know?
It totally makes sense when you actually explain the whole thing.
To me, this is just more indication of the fact that people don't communicate well. And miscommunication is leading to what I think is most of these problems. You know, she essentially sacrificed her comfort because she liked him, but then realized that the price that she paid wasn't worth it. And that's unfortunate and it's bad. And there's no easy answer to this stuff, guys. There's no one fixed solution. There's no way that he can read a lot of her signs. It's hard. It's not easy. And also she couldn't read his signs either. She couldn't tell that he saw her only as a friend. You know, both of them are incapable of seeing where the other person is coming from very clearly. Mm-hmm. And it leads to these kind of situations. This is unfortunate. But this is, again, why people have to be more comfortable communicating. I mean, I still meet so many girls who tell me, like, I just want a guy to kiss me. I want a guy to just go for it.
That's not what you mean. That's not what you mean. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to her.
Listen, I don't think you should verbalize everything, but we have to find a middle ground. Because it's very clear that for a lot of people, they're not doing enough of it, and as a result, they're suffering.
There's an issue.
Yeah. I'll just tell people, err on the side of caution. This is the best thing I could tell you guys. If someone is feeling kind of ambiguous, just err on the side of caution. Be like, well, we're not going to proceed. And I know it sucks because nothing really bad happened, but I think in this day and age, better safe than sorry. That's what I would tell people. But yeah, leave your comments below. We want to hear your thoughts.
Too much, you can't get enough.